Then at night we have the usual receptions, and it can vary. Some nights there will be absolutely no receptions, and then there will be other nights when there will be 6 or 8 or 10. And if we're in a committee frame of mind and the schedule, then a lot of times we can make most of those receptions. And it's sometimes very important that you make a reception if you have constituents down that attend those receptions. This week, for instance, on Wednesday night, we had, on Tuesday night, we had several groups in town with constituencies that come from the district. The realtors were in town, Farm Bureau was in town, and a couple of other groups that you're going to have people there. And so you go to those receptions to make sure that you touch base with the constituents in those particular organizations that come down and expect to see their legislator. So it sometimes can be a busy night when you have all of those receptions. Life in the district is a little different, though. Life in the district is basically at your own pace and basically at your own scheduling. And down here in Springfield, we go by the schedule that's already set for us. But back in the district, most of the time, our legislators are spending their time in the district office or traveling around the district, meeting with constituents or meeting with groups. And to me, that's one of the most enjoyable parts of the job. There are meetings and events of all kinds back in the district. It could be with an individual constituent. It could be with a group of constituents, or it could be with a community or a governmental agency. Well, and many of those events and meetings aren't just during the day when you have normal business hours. They're at night and they're on weekends. And a lot of functions and events take place other than normal business hours. Then, of course, there's always the other activities that you have to participate in. If you're an elected official and you think that you may have a tough fight for re-election the next time, or you just want to be out there to make sure that you're continually touching base with your constituency. Those activities include things like parades, pancake and sausage breakfast, fish fries, burgoo festivals. How many of you have ever heard of a burgoo festival? I had one little county that was probably the smallest county in the state when I represented the district before redistricting. And every single town in that little county had a summer celebration and a parade and a burgoo festival to go with it. You noticed in that little county there was very little roadkill on the road down there either. So I don't know what went into the burgoo, but it was a clean county. Life as a legislator is not necessarily family friendly. And last year was a good classic example of that. When we normally think our year in Springfield is going to be January through May, we already know that there's a lot of demands on our time when we are supposed to be down here. But then it gets extended into June, July, and August, and you're at the beck and call of the governor, you're at the beck and call of the speaker or the president of the Senate. You never really can plan for a normal life back home. For instance, my wife and I had a week reserved for a vacation in Colorado. We were not able to use that. We did not get a vacation last summer because we never knew for sure when we were going to have to be back down here or when we weren't. So we just forewent the vacation. We went without the vacation. Some legislators did, though. But they run the risk when you do that. If you're a good, conscientious public servant, you run the risk of being criticized because you don't go and attend the sessions. By the same token, we run the risk of being criticized for coming down to Springfield to have the speaker gavel in and 15 minutes later gavel out. You didn't do anything, but you've been down here wasting your time and you hit the road to go back home again. So you run the risk of either wasting taxpayers' dollars or not doing your civic duty. So that's something that's a challenge to every legislator as they contemplate how they're going to complete their duties. But in the district office, as we deal with public service for the constituents, Let me give you an idea. How many of you have ever spent time in a legislator's office? Well, several of you. So some of you have a good idea of what it means to, what a legislator does for his constituent service. For those of you who don't, we run things like let me step back. Government is not consumer friendly. And especially a government that has reduced headcount to try to be more efficient by asking the individuals that continue to work for government to work harder. Sometimes you cut too much, and you cut too much manpower, and then work tends to pile up on those that are left doing the work. So government is not consumer friendly. A legislator's office many times becomes the liaison between the constituent and a government agency. Every agency has a liaison that's supposed to be the first initial contact for the legislative office. My legislative assistant has been with me for over 10 years and has developed a very close working relationship with most of those offices. And when she calls up, they know her voice, and she can get right to the people that she needs to talk to get something accomplished. For instance, we work with the Secretary of State's office when somebody calls us with a licensing or title problem with a vehicle or something of that nature. Maybe it's a boat or a trailer, but we work with the Secretary of State's office in that regard. We also get people who call us with invalid traffic tickets. And it could be from the city of Chicago that has issued a ticket to somebody downstate that has never been outside of their county in their life. Or it could be, now we're getting calls from constituents that have received a ticket from the Toll Highway Authority. There appears to be cameras in these toll lanes where it's supposed to be the I-pass, and people are just driving right through, and the camera gets a shot of the license plate, and if that car's going through without an I-pass, then they send that individual a ticket. The problem is, in the state of Illinois, we have many different license plates, but those many different license plates can have the same number. So when the Secretary of State's office looks up a license number for the Toll Highway Authority, they're assuming it's a normal plate when it could be a specialty plate. So we have a lot of problems in that regard.